we have multi-channel outreach and organizing for unions. That's the topic of our webinar today. Thank you all for joining. It's a little after 12. We're going to get rolling. So we're planning on about running a half hour today, maybe a little bit longer with some questions, but feel free to ask questions anytime throughout. You don't have to hold them to the end. We do have a Q&A feature. So if you want, just pop them right onto the Q&A. We will leave the chat for hopefully engagement during this. We like to have some engaging commentary. So please start off by letting us know who you're with and where you're from. So just tell us the city where you're located and what organization you're with. That would be great. And we will dive in. So about a half hour, maybe a little bit longer. And just a quick note about the content today. So this is kind of meant to be 101, maybe 102 level type of presentation. So for those of you who already have a robust digital program, there's a good chance you've seen some of this already, or maybe have even implemented some of this or very similar workflows to what we're going to present here. So, some of this may be familiar. For those of you who have not or do not have a robust digital program, we hope this is helpful for you. So, just to quickly introduce my fellow presenters here. My name's Craig. I'm a marketing director with NGP Van, and I'm joined by Kerry and Michael. I'll let them say their hellos real quick.
My name's Kerry Dolan. I'm a manager with our solutions architecture team. In prior roles here with the organization, I have been an account manager for many of our union clients, some of the large IUs and some smaller organizations as well. And prior to that, I was with our support team. So I've been here going on 11 years at this point. Mike, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Murray. I am a solutions engineer located in Boston. I've been with NGP Van, Every Action, Bonterra for about 5 years now. Before that, worked in politics and with SEIU for a bit as well. And I've been with our solutions team for a little over a year now with Kerry. Have also worked with some of our great union clients, and am also a proud member of CWA Local 1400 here at Every Action NGP Van.
Very nice. Very nice. Thank you. So yes, we are recording this. So if you registered for this, you will get a recording of the video and the presentation we're doing right now. So usually it takes us about a day to put together the video, do the captions, and any other accessibility needs that we need to put on there. So sometimes it's as fast as a couple hours. So you might see an email from us by the end of the day, but most likely it'll come either very end of day today or early tomorrow. So you will get a video and you will get a recording of the deck. Again, if you have any questions at all, drop them in the Q&A. That looks like this on your little Zoom chat or your little Zoom icons down there. You probably see the chat, which everyone seems to be very engaged in right now. Thank you very much. And if you have questions, drop them in the Q&A as I'm chatting, which won't be for very much longer, thankfully. I will, the guys will answer the questions, and as they're chatting, I'll try to answer any questions that you have. If we cannot answer questions that you have right now, we will take a beat, try to get you answers, and probably drop them in the email to you that comes later or tomorrow, or we'll just call you separately or email you individually if it's a separate question. So, but either way, we don't like to let questions go unanswered for too long. So we'll try to get to those right away. So, and again, we like to have this as interactive as possible. So please do use the chat and please do use the questions if you have them. And with that, Mike, it's all yours. Why multi-channel? Why multi-channel comms?
Thanks, Craig. So why multi-channel, right? What we know with member engagement and with organizing is we need to meet people where they're at, right? And with the way things are these days, folks are on their phones, folks are online, folks are in person. But if we're just sending out an email to folks, it may not get read by some people, right? They may not be checking their inbox. It may be an old email, right? If we're texting people, if we're running, campaigns that are just sort of one channel, we're going to miss a lot of the engagement that we frankly need to have with our members or with folks that we're organizing, right? So a multi-channel campaign is really the best way to get through to folks. So Here we have, again, the tried and true mail that you can send people, having events in person or virtual. You may have used our Zoom integration for your events, via telephone, right? Text, online, mobile apps. A lot of folks are using Minivan and story collection. So again, you have a lot of different ways to get at folks, to get them engaged and to get them participating. So if we can go to the next slide, let's talk about a few different examples of layering and automating these multi-channel comms. So automation is something we've had at NGP Van for a few years now, and it is a really cool tool. Obviously, you all are very busy, right? So automation takes a lot of the workload off of you so that you can focus on other activities. So if we get into some examples of what sort of multi-channel campaigns we can run, let's look at multi-channel drip campaigns, right? So if we have new members and we're welcoming them in, we're going to look at an example of how to do that effectively with a multi-channel campaign. Again, using any active campaigns you have, sending out communications around things like dues. For new members, let's let them, send them an email with their Weingarten rights. Let's send them who they should be reaching out to at their workplace, right? With any questions. But it's a great way to bring folks on board, make them feel welcome, and make them feel, let them know that they're part of a union and an active part of that union, and what that's all about, right? And same with chase or sandwich communications. We'll look at, event emails, but you can also use these for follow-up interactions, right? We're going to look at an example of organizers in the field and how we can use automation to support them as they're using Minivan or just reaching out to folks, how we can set up a robust communication with those people that they're organizing, so that they can focus on organizing more people, right? Worksite visits, in-person assessments. And again, Minivan is a great tool for all of those things. You can also use this for, again, steward or leader welcome emails. Who should I be talking to? Who should I be connected with? How can I connect with them? All this stuff. And again, multi-channel communications are the way to do that. So with that in mind, I'm going to take a sip of coffee, and then I'm going to share my screen. And if you're already using automation, please holler out in the chat if you have any questions or anything, but want to give folks an example of a few different things you can do with automation. So
yeah, while you're pulling that up, Mike, if folks could give me a thumbs up in the chat if you're on your communications staff, or give me a smiley face if you're on your field staff. Curious to see what the breakdown is across the programs here. Data staff. Oh, okay. We can go with a smiley face with shades for data.
for sure.
Do it all. Yes.
So can you all, oh, sorry, go ahead, Carrie.
Take it away, Mike.
Can you all see my screen, just to confirm? Sounds good. So I'm in automation. We're going to take a look at what this entails. Some of you may have already be using it. If you're not, you really should be. And it looks kind of like a family tree. Just this kind of scroll down, we'll get to all this. But family tree, I've heard, kind of like Plinko and Price is Right. I think it's kind of like, maybe I'm dating myself here, but those old Choose Your Own Adventure books, if you read those, we're going to let the people we're engaging with kind of choose their own adventure. I'll show you what I mean by that. But for creating an automation, it's going to run daily or nightly. I can select my preferred runtime here. But really at its core, automation is a lot of things you're probably already using, right? It's built on Create a List. It's built on targeted email. It's built on our SMS tools. But when we're starting, we can select a one-time entry or repeated entries for maybe things like dues reminders or something like that. You might want to repeat. But a one-time entry for a welcome series, right? It's our one chance to make a first impression, and we can just set up the search that we have here. So again, that's just that you can tailor it to whatever you're needing for your automation, but we're just going to set up anybody who's a member and is new to us, right? And from there, if we follow along here, we're going to send them an email. And so everybody in that list is getting this email. And it's coming from Carrie, who is the president of our fake local here. And we can reach out to them and send them this email. And from there, we're just going to add a wait of 3 days to let them, let that sink in, make sure they're able to open or engage with that email. But then we're going to split them up. So based on, did they actually open the email we sent them? If they did not, we're going to send them down a different path than if they did, right? So you can base these decisions off of either a saved search that you set up in Create a List, or as the result of a previous step, right? So we have a previous step of, did they open that link? Did they click a link? Did they convert on what they were clicking on? Did they unsubscribe from that email? So we can build those, build steps based on if they're engaging with what we're sending them. So if they did not open that email, we're going to say, hey, maybe they're less of an email person, more of a text person. So we're going to send them a text message. And here we have our text message. We'll look at our texting tool in just a sec, but we can add links here to them, or we can add merge fields, right? So you could add a merge field for something like who their steward is or what their job site is, right? And obviously you can do that in email as well. But we're texting these folks, and then we're going to do a separate decision here and see, did they click on what we sent them? If they did, they're out. If they didn't, we're going to send them one more text, and then they're out. So as you can see, they started by being welcomed with an email that they did not open, and then we're sending them a series of text messages. And based on how they engage with that, they're going to go down different paths from there. And you can envision setting up a lot more different paths if that's something you like. And again, using Create a List, you can tailor this based on geography, based on any sort of demographic data that you have for folks. Or you can also tailor this based on decisions that people have made, right? So again, for our people who did actually click that email or open that email, we're going to send them another onboarding welcome email. So again, layered communication. They've already shown that they're pretty engaged with their email. So we're going to hit them with another email. And maybe the first email is just a very introductory one. And this might be more tailored to the history of our local or our IU, right? Or things you need to know, right? We can send them different content, and we'll wait 3 days, and then we'll see, did they open that second one? If they did, they're getting a third email from us, right? Because they've shown they love opening emails from us, and we love to send them. If they didn't open that email, they're going to get a text message, and that's how we're going to reach them. And so now we've sent them a separate message. And either way, we're going to end that welcome series. We're going to consider all of these folks sufficiently welcomed at that point, right? So as you can see, people can go down different paths. You can set up a whole bunch of different paths in your welcome series, a whole bunch of different splits and decisions and everything. You can also, and we'll talk about this in a sec, you can use this to do different actions as well. It's a great tool for sending text messages, sending emails. You can also use it to do things like applying activist codes, right? Should they all have a new member welcomed activist code after they're through this automation? You can assign staff. You can schedule follow-ups, right? If I'm a steward and I have a new member who's assigned to my bargaining unit, maybe I have a follow-up where I need to reach out to them within a week of them going through this welcome series. So that organizer, that steward, whoever we're dealing with, they're going to get automated follow-ups in every action or in NGP Van to reach out to the people who are assigned to them, or to reach out to people on their turf. Or if I'm an organizer and someone had a question and maybe I reach out to them, but you can schedule these follow-ups, you can assign staff, you can automate the applying or removing activist codes to people, again, based on all their criteria. Carrie, anything you want to add here on this welcome series?
No, I mean, functionality wise, there's a lot you can do with this. Messaging wise, this template functions in a number of different ways. We're going to show you another one in a moment that's more geared towards an outreach chase program. But when you think about, the onboarding experience for a new member of a local, maybe they've never been in a union, they don't understand how it functions. This is a great way of delivering that content, making it feel real, showing the value of being here, particularly, for anyone that has to go through reauthorizations on a regular basis, just being present from the get-go and saying like, we are here working for you to be a positive force. This is a great way of delivering that content. And we're showing like a very compressed, probably a week and a half program where we're delivering 3 emails, but there's no reason you couldn't add, 30-day waits and set up a year-long program that's, rather than having something where it's going to be just like a one-off blast email to the entire local, it's more of a, dripping that value in terms of, I'm losing my words here, the history of the local, right? Bringing that in, CWA Local 1400 does wear red on Thursdays. Why is that? Let's get that message out there as well. So there's a lot we can do with this.
And
yeah.
For the waits, you can schedule them not just based on the day or week period that you want them to wait, but you can also do it day of the week, right? So as a CWA member, maybe we would send reminders to folks every Wednesday night. Don't forget to wear your red shirt tomorrow. So you definitely can schedule, if you think you have better engagement on Fridays for some reason or anything like that, you can schedule these to go out then as well.
Yeah, how many folks are currently implementing stuff like this? Like, do you all have a welcome series for new members? Feel free to comment in the chat. And Mike, while folks are
while we're doing that, why don't we showed some examples of mobile messaging you can send to folks. I don't know if folks are currently using our mobile messaging tool, but again, it's a great way to layer those comms into any sort of campaign, and it's really intuitive and user friendly. So we can set up keywords if we're organizing a site, maybe text help, whatever keyword we want to set up. I should have thought of an example there. Text keyword to this number, right? And that way we can get them engaged that way if we have a sign up or something like that. We also have something that's really helpful, an inbox. So we're sending out these broadcast messages to hundreds or thousands of folks, right? And we're asking them to take an action, learn this information, meet at an event, whatever you want, right? And a lot of people are just going to click the link you send them or ignore it, let's be honest, right? Or read the info you send them and follow up or whatever. But some people are going to respond, and we give you the power to engage with those folks who respond, right? So we have an inbox here. People might respond with a whole bunch of stuff, and you're able to respond back to them or flag that for somebody else, as something they should be following up on, right? So you get that level of personal engagement because honestly, when you send out a broadcast text, most people aren't going to respond, but some are, and you can get that engagement with them on a personal level by following up here. Or if, it may not require a follow-up, but they may be providing information that's good for you to know or see. So that's our mobile messaging tool. Let's look at this worksite campaign for automation. Again, we're in another automation here, and let's imagine that we're having one-on-ones with folks at this worksite. And again, we've set up this search and create a list to include anyone who was contacted yesterday one-on-one. And we have a few different organizers working here, right? So if Carrie was the organizer who reached out to them, they're going to get a follow-up email from Carrie that says, thanks for chatting. And it's from Carrie. It's got Carrie's information. When they reply, it will go to Carrie. And we can include things like, a signature, even a headshot of Carrie. But we're sending them engaging emails that, again, our organizers don't have to sit down and write that follow-up email for every person. They may want to take it upon themselves to send follow-up emails to, some of the folks they had really good conversations with that are, reference a lot of specifics and everything. But this is really helpful for continuing that engagement with people without putting any strain on our organizers. We're going to let them focus on, a lot of the quality conversations that they're having. So we see we're just sending that email from Carrie. And again, it's a very simple automation we have here. We could take a lot more actions off of this, right? Maybe if they click that or they open that email, Carrie gets a follow-up with them, or we send them another email, anything like that. But we're keeping it pretty basic here. And if they did not talk to Carrie, we're going to see, did they talk to Usma, another organizer on the site? And if they talk to Usma, they're going to get an email from her, same as they did from Carrie, but it's again going to be tailored to Usma. And if they didn't talk to Usma, we're going to see, did they talk to Chelsea, our other organizer there? If they did, again, you see where this is going, I hope. They're going to get an email from Chelsea. If they didn't, then they're going to get maybe a catch-all email of thanks for talking from just the general campaign, because we don't have a specific organizer there. So this is, again, something you can set up in 10 minutes, let's say, and it's going to run and reach out to people based on those conversations. It's running in the background every day. So 10 minutes of work, and now we're continuing that engagement with people, making sure they get more hits from our campaign based on what we're setting up here.
Yeah, and I would add that this can be much more elaborate. So if you were conducting an assessment in the field, doing your worksite organizing, and someone enters a response that indicates, this person may have qualities that we'd like to pursue for leadership, that can feed into a more specialized email branching out from here. That could feed into form communications, or, we're going to talk about it in a bit, but story collection. If we were in the field, we spoke to them, they said, hey, this has been my experience with the local. You all helped me out quite a bit on a particular grievance that I had filed. It's worth having that question in, or an activist code in our minivan script to indicate that, this person should be followed up with automatically to collect that story and get authorization to publish it, so that, either we can send that out to our members to say like, hey, we are providing this sort of value, or, we can use it for media hits or something like that. So, there's a lot of things that we can do with minimal resources. And Mike, if you actually click on that first email on the top right there and pop into the template once it pops up here, just hit edit there. You don't need to be a web developer to build this out. We have a lot of templates in here that cover these sorts of scenarios. So we can pop in that headshot down at the bottom, customize this. This is out of the box functionality to make that possible. So I am not a web developer, but if I can upload an image and I can adjust some text, we're off to the races here.
For sure. And again, think of all the different things, because this is all based on Create a List, which is incredibly robust. You could even set up something where we're searching for the notes that our organizers are taking in the field. If they have a specific keyword that they put in a note after an assessment, that person they were speaking to is going to get a follow-up based on that, right? So if we're running campaigns about, do you have to work a second job because this one's not cutting it? Do you have to, are you is shift scheduling cutting into your sleep, or childcare or whatever? You're able to follow up with them, flag them with an activist code, assign them a specific organizer, send them specific emails or texts around that, just based on a keyword in their note.
Yeah, and Mike, there was a question that came in that I want to address, which was, when did this feature come out? So automation has been around for a bit. One thing to be aware of is that organizations with existing van instances, whether it's a My Workers or a My Members or My Voters, they may have purchased different packages. So, we recognize that some folks may be working with jobs fields, some folks may just be working with, like an every action communications tab. you can reach out to your IU to see if you can get access to those tools. If that is not part of their package, you are welcome to connect with us and we can see what options exist. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure that, you know, it is very dependent on who you get access from and, you know, whether or not they've got the digital tools.
Absolutely. And so we're going to talk about another campaign. And this campaign is going to start with advocacy, which I know some unions with us are definitely using, but it's a really impactful tool. So this is an advocacy form. It's incredibly basic that we set up here. Again, Carrie and I are not designers by any stretch of the imagination, but you can whip something like this up in 5 minutes. And if you want to make it look really nice, that might take sort of 8 minutes. But you've used our forms. This is a multi-step form. So I have fast action enabled. My profile is saved, so it's automatically entering all of my information here. And then when I hit next, it is, oh, we've got the CAPTCHA enabled too. I think that's all the cars. We're going to find out in a second. So I am going to send this message, right? It geolocated me. This is great because that means our members, our supporters do not need to know their representatives or whoever we're targeting, and we can target federal officials, we can target state officials, we can target local or municipal officials. We also have, you can use custom targets, right? So that could go to an agency. It could go to, you know, a CEO, right? If we're going to say, let's tell Jeff Bezos something, we can set up targets for folks to reach out and contact Jeff Bezos, right? So you can also set up different messages here. I live in Massachusetts right now. Ed Markey and Elizabeth Warren are, you know, I'm just sending them this message, but we could have, based on how folks are voting or based on party affiliation, we could have different messages, right? I assume both Senators Markey and Warren are supportive, but we could make sure of that and tailor different messages for supporters, for people who are opposed to the specific confirmation or piece of legislation that we're organizing around. We could have a different message for elected officials who we don't know their stance, right? So it will know, and you know, assuming they were split on this, I would have 2 different messages I could send, one to each of them. Or, you know, when I lived in Ohio, Sherrod Brown and now JD Vance, I would have, I assume, different messages to send to either. Right? Thank you for your support, Senator Brown. Maybe something less polite for Senator Vance, but we can personalize our message here as well with reporting. We are able to see exactly what folks are putting in their custom messages. So we can make sure folks are staying on message. We can make sure, you know, we can see exactly how many submissions we've had. That's really helpful for any sort of lobbying days we're doing up at the State House or Capitol Hill or anything. When we're talking to an elected official, we can mention, you know, we're the reason that they received 424 emails last month, or you know, text messages, forms, Twitter. You can also set up click to call, and you can report on all of that. And again, making sure folks are staying on message and seeing if they have any really impactful stories that they're sharing here about why they're supporting what we're asking them to support or anything like that. So that's our advocacy tool. And as you can see on the first page here, it asked me for my details. And then on the second page, it's giving me the message to send. But if I, you know, walk away, go get another cup of coffee, forget about that, we're able to see who abandoned that form because it's set up multi-step. And we've got an automation series for that, right? So the folks who abandoned that form asking their electeds to support Julie Sue's nomination, we can follow up with them. So if they walked away from that form, we're going to send them a message with that form, right? And say, hey, don't forget, you know, you didn't complete this, please do that. Then we're going to wait 1 day and we're going to see, did they convert on that? If they did what we asked, they're out of this welcome series. If they didn't, we're going to send them a follow-up email. Again, multi-channel. with a text and then with an email. And then after that, we're gonna just end it there. But we could, again, go down, send them different texts, different emails. And because it is based on decisions, you are able to, whenever you're creating these things, really drill down on, you don't have to say, you know, hey, maybe you forgot to do this or anything. You can say, if you're getting this message, you did not, you know, complete that, right? So, so you're able to search on all of those things and drill down on that. So that's another way to engage with folks, is to ask them to share a story, right? If we are organizing, what does that, you know, what would having a union mean to you in this job, right? If we're talking to members, how has having it, you know, how has being a union member made your life better, right? Let's collect these stories. So again, a story collection form, again, very basic in terms of the build here, but we can ask them for their information. And then again, if we're running campaigns, we're asking them to confirm so that as soon as they submit the story, we have their information and their approval for us to share this story in our campaign, right? So if we're doing a social media campaign, if we're printing up literature, if we're doing anything like that, you know, we have their official approval to do that. And again, you can see what impactful stories folks are having. You can search those stories for, you know, the most compelling reasons why people are unionizing, some of the biggest wins your union has had in the workplace under this contract or in the past year, or whatever you want to search for. It's a great way to collect information from folks, you know, on a human level and see where people are at, what we're doing here. And again, use that for your organizing purposes or for member outreach or anything like that.
Yeah, and Mike, I do want to just jump in for 1 second for folks that are not aware of our form options in terms of styling. So while we're showing some kind of bare bones stuff, a couple notes. You can always create themes for these. We are always going to give you embed code for these. So you can, any type of form you can embed in your website and it'll look like a native component of your site. So even if you're not a web developer, you can always, you know, create a new page, pop it in, you know, paste that, and then it's good to go. You're always going to have the ability to adjust a couple design components, including color schemes, add header images. And if you did want to create, you know, campaign specific themes with full headers and footers, and even vanity domains. So this, you know, might be hosted by us, but it uses a domain from, you know, your real world site. We can do that as well. So
Carrie, we have a blog post or a couple blog posts coming out probably before the end of June, where we have a video and we have instructions on how to do the embed codes and put them on WordPress sites, HTML sites, that kind of thing. I think we cover contribution forms, volunteer forms, story forms like this. We have a bunch of different ones. We cover the hosted, like what you see here. Mike is showing the hosted ones. And then we also cover custom websites too, and how easy it is. It like literally takes 5 minutes to customize and drop a really clean form and right on your site. So I think those are going to go live before the end of the month. Maybe we'll do a follow-up email just to include those.
Perfect. No, that's great to know, Craig. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah. Sorry, Mike. Didn't mean to steal your thunder.
No, I appreciate it. And that is everything I had on multi-channel communications and everything. But we do have some time. Happy to take any questions if folks have them.
Yeah, there was one that I answered in chat, and this is one we get on occasion. If someone goes off message or is hostile in those advocacy forms, is there any way to stop it before it goes out? The answer there is that we don't gatekeep those. You do have options in the construction of those forms to turn off customization if you are seeing abuse there. You are able to report out fully on, you know, the messages that are going out, including the customizations that take place. And we can also, you know, we could take action to like IP address ban people and, a few other things there, as well as just flag, who those people are and take them out of the universe for the distribution on those actions. But yeah, that's the answer to that one. If anyone has any questions or stories about engagement through welcome series or chases or even advocacy success, we'd love to hear it in the chat. And we got some additional resources here.
Yeah, I was trying to take myself off mute there, but couldn't find the button. We updated, many people here will be familiar with Van and the Vanual. We updated the Vanual very recently. We updated the mini Vanual even more recently. So the Vanual is up to date with all of the new features, and you can see that guide. I want to say it's like, I don't know, 50 or 60 pages, maybe longer, of literally all the ins and outs of using Van. Same thing with Mini Vanual. And then we recently put out a distributed organizing guide for anyone running any type of volunteer-based distributed organizing guide, or if you're helping out with campaigns or supporting campaigns that might be doing that. And also to the extent that you are supporting people on the electoral side or some candidates that might need a little bit of help, candidates that maybe you've endorsed or candidates you're supporting that can use a few extra resources. We have a How to Win Your Local Election Guide, which has been extremely popular. That just came out earlier this year for some of the down ballot folks. So, a lot of maybe your federal campaigns need some help too, but this is really, it was written for the down ballot folks. To the extent that you're supporting them locally, they may be able to use that kind of support. So when we send over the deck, you will have a copy of this and link off to those sites. If those resources are helpful, great. And then if anyone has any questions, or if you need more information or more customized conversation or demos related to anything that Mike and Kerry have shown today, there's a link there, go.ngpvan.com/labor unions. And you can just request a customized demo and someone will be on the phone with you in a couple minutes and go from there. So thank you all for your time. We said we'd end early, and here we are at 12:40. So we'll give you a little more time back in your day. If you have any questions, it looks like there's one more in the Q&A.
Oh, sorry, I missed that.
Yeah.
Are there any integration options available for Salesforce to ensure bi-directional data updates? The answer to this is yes. We do have a custom Salesforce integration. I would recommend you reach out to us to talk about that. We'd set up a call with our developer and you to go over, what your needs are and what your custom Salesforce implementation looks like, and then we can mix and match to see what we can bring over for you.
Great. Well, thank you everyone for attending. Thanks for engaging today. Thanks, Mike and Kerry. We'll get the video wrapped up and send it over to you all via email. I don't think we had any outstanding questions, but if there's any other things that we can clarify in that email, it'll be in the email. You can also just hit reply to that. Kerry and Mike will get that, and we'll make sure that if there are any other questions, we'll get it to the right place right away. So thank you all. Appreciate your time and have a good week.
Thanks so much, everybody.